Hi guys, I'm going to be doing the topic, what in the world can my home church do? So some key concepts and big ideas we're going to start with are, where does the local church fit? How can a home church missions program function most effectively? And what can we as Bible students do? So a basic church that we can look at to see this as an example is the church in Antioch. Missions was a major priority in the work of God, and we can see that they were the first missionary sending church. And some of its characteristics are that they encouraged to evangelize cross-culturally. They weren't hung up on themselves, but they were witnesses to Gentiles, and their concern for them continued to grow as they did that. They were mobilizing all believers to witness. The church grew by the witness of laymen, just ordinary believers that moved to Antioch. This shows the responsibility of every believer to be a witness. They were also a cosmopolitan, multi-ethnic church. 2 out of the 5 leaders were Gentiles. One was African, another was Jewish, some were Greek. This gave a solid basis for missionary concern. They were also centered in prayer for the world outreach. What is the problem? So there's this quote. It says, "The fact is, the vast majority of believers have little to do with missions, and the vast majority of churches do little to reach people globally in the context of their ongoing ministries. It is likely, then, that your church is not passionate about missions. Like most churches, you have a small but vocal group of missions advocates, but your missions involvement is probably lacking." I think just being at the Bible school, this has been something I've heard from so many different students. Students staying after Bible school because they found a local church that actually supports them. And just not having a home church at home that is actively involved in missions. So going from there, what are some ultimate objectives for churches? There's prayer, recommended reading or missionary books, raising financial support for missions, recruiting, training, sending out potential missionaries to facilitate, support potential missionaries in training, to help missionaries both personally and in ministry, to help mission agencies, to help national churches and workers, to adopt a people group or ministry, and to encourage members to be world Christians. So that's a lot. So what are some more immediate goals that the church can focus on? Some of those are involving all members in the missions program, to provide accurate and up-to-date info about missions, to educate in the biblical basis in all phases of missions, to challenge all members regarding missionary service, and to create interest and concern for missions. Okay, so that's a lot. But I think one key thing to focus on is the crucial role of pastors in the pulpit. Church leaders need to be sold on missions. The life of the missionary program is dependent on pastors and leadership. You must cooperate if missions is to be a church concern and not just a fringe activity of a small group within the church. One thing that I'm lucky to have is a pastor that is actively involved in going to so many of our missions trips, and he's very concerned about just the whole globe and of that. So there's a quote that says, "A pastor passionate about people coming to Christ in his own congregation must be passionate about the nations coming to Christ. He must travel and lead out in the area of missions. He must go and encourage his people to go." This is by Harold Cook. So what can pastors do to create this in their church? Some things they can do are preaching on the basis of missions, including missionary prayer letters in their sermons, or even just having them available to members. They can refer to lost tribes or Muslims, Hindus, etc., whoever need the gospel, just making members aware of this problem. They can also contrast biblical truths with other worldviews held in other countries. Missions conference are a huge thing that can be done, and they can be more than once a year. It can be a time focused on how the church can be involved with missions and challenging individuals to give or be a part of global missions in some way. They can also just give other info and educate the church on missions. You can have a map showing current missionaries, a bulletin board with prayer letters. That can also be used in services and prayer meetings, missions books, literature, magazines. Perspectives classes are huge and just a great way to educate the church on all these things. So one question that goes with this is, what if the local church took more responsibility for getting one of their own members on the mission field? The local church should be the foundation of prayer and financial support for missionaries. When a member commits to going on the mission field, it should become a church project to get him there and raise support. It shouldn't just be one person trying to get so many people to help them. It's a team effort. The pastor can encourage others to meet with them and hear their vision and the part that they can play in what they're doing. And the local church should make partnership development much quicker and easier. And it can be a time of sharing a member's vision and the local church's mission of sending out this member. So what can we as Bible students do? This seems like such a big thing. How do we change our churches to do this? How do we make that change? And I think the first thing is just being vocal. We are so educated here at the school and just constantly hearing about missions, and whenever we're home, we can just talk about what we're learning and what Ethnos is doing. I think another thing is just staying in touch with your pastor. If he's learning about your heart and what you're wanting to do, it could change his, and I think that is huge. It's so good to just get connected and meet with members when you're home and to just share your vision with them. This could be huge in a few years, doing partnership development and just having people behind you that just know you and know what you've been doing in your heart. You can be a part of missions programs, missionary support, and prayer groups. You can also give ideas for local churches and how they can grow in their mission focus and participation. So I just want to end with a verse, the typical Matthew 28 verse. So that's all I got. Thanks.